there are three things here I think we need to cover. Let's talk about money market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about money market. Let's talk about taxable bonds, and let's talk about tax-free bonds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened with money market? Go to money market.
Well, money market, first of all, went from 0 to 5.25%. I think we could probably say it was a little higher.
Yeah, I think we got to 5.35.
Yeah,
yeah. That's
so
nice.
we went from I like to say the outhouse to the penthouse.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that I have 3 really complicated relationships in my life?
With me, myself, and I?
Close. My relationship with money, my relationship with people, and my relationship with self. And they're all connected together because when my relationship with money got out of whack, it totally had an impact on those other relationships. That, my friend, is what we call having financial sobriety.
So who are you?
I'm Matthew Grishman. Who are you?
Jim Gebhardt.
And we're a couple of financial advisors trying to have an untraditional conversation about our favorite topic, money.
Let's go.
Welcome to upstate California.
Huh?
You came upstate today.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
If you look at the map.
I did go north.
Yeah, it's northeast, upstate.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Well, when you're a couple of East Coast guys like us, we can say things like, welcome to upstate California.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Did you bring any gratitude in your wagon?
Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I did.
Fire away.
It happens to be the basis of our show today. The fact that we got a couple of days down in one of the epicenters on Earth for bonds and fixed income, Newport Beach, California.
I thought that was like surfers and fancy cars.
Au contraire.
Oh.
Yes. It most certainly is, but one of our favorite bond managers had a little strategic offsite to get indoctrinated, re-educated, and cauterized on all that's going on in the world in fixed income. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of getting out of the office every once in a while and sharpening the saw.
Sure.
And it was outstanding.
Nice. Yeah, that was fun. That was good to get down there. I'm feeling a little bit of gratitude for that too. What else is in the gratitude wagon?
On my call up here today, I was chit-chatting with our oldest daughter, Emily, and she's going through the graduate school application process, and those have all been submitted, and results are starting to show up.
Ooh.
And I'm noticing that she set some very low expectations with no attachment to outcomes, and she's being pleasantly surprised by the options that she now has available. And more options are coming in almost, I can't say daily, but certainly weekly.
Are we such as? I mean, are we prepared to?
No, not at this.
Not at this stage.
Not at this stage.
Okay.
But she's going to have multiple choices, and those multiple choices are going to require her to think.
Nice.
And to really drill down into what is it that she wants. And we had a want versus need conversation. I said, well, you don't need to go to graduate school. And she said, well, yes, I do, Dad, because I want to be a speech pathologist.
Nice.
Okay, I gotcha. Gotcha. Don't play chess with me. I gotcha. You want to be a speech pathologist. You don't need to be a speech pathologist, but you need a master's degree in order to be able to practice in the field. I find that very curious that you have to have a master's degree. That seems a little bit like the lobbyists won that one.
Sure.
Because she'll have like 62 job offers when she gets out of school.
Well, but let's also look at what does a master's degree give young Emily, who has somewhat limited years on this thing we call living planet Earth, right? I've always looked at the formality of education as like a fast track to life. If you don't have experience, you've got the classroom. Some people have the experience, other people have the classroom. So when you're young, trying to get started in a field like that requires quite a bit of knowledge, we're going to put you through the academic rigors of walking out a little bit more experience. Perhaps if this were a second career that she was embarking upon, maybe in her 40s or 50s, she would have had some personal experience with it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
She would still need the master's degree in order to practice.
She would.
That's the goofy part.
Well, she probably wouldn't need it to practice. She'd need it more to play.
Sure.
Right. because
Sure.
you can practice all you want.
Exactly.
I'm grateful. My oldest is going through some similar kind of conversations about want. He's being recruited by a flight center in the upper Midwest, this little town, this little warm town this time of year called Fargo, North Dakota. The flight center there is trying to recruit him to come out and fly some charter aircraft for them. And he is going
The what
through
center?
the Fargo Flight Center. It's at the Fargo International Airport. It's
The international airport.
the internet. I think they fly
Canada.
to Canada. But he's going through
They don't
kind
walk
of
to Canada?
no, there are some cities you got to fly to once
Oh,
you're up there.
okay.
You could probably walk across the border, but you do have this whole state of Minnesota. I think you got to get through first. I don't know my geography up there.
That would
It's
be
like,
east, Mr.
that's
Upstate
east.
California.
Oh, yeah, I guess North Dakota does touch it, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Oh boy, Jill's not going to be happy with that one. I think she taught a little social studies in 7th grade.
That was good, not great.
Yeah, I know. Well, so this is
Recruited.
This is kind of the season of
Like
back
signing bonus kind of stuff? Like we need an attorney involved in all this?
He what he's realizing is that it's an exciting opportunity to go fly some pretty cool aircraft. However, there are trade-offs. And rather than
One being
well,
one being Fargo.
besides the climate. Now remember, this is a kid who's grown up here in the heat of Sacramento, so he's okay with the idea. Unlike you and me, right? We were bombarded with snow and cold, and we're all done, right? You and I tapped out somewhere back in the last century,
And you and I know cold.
exactly. We know cold.
But we don't know Fargo cold.
No. Well, I would say if you're the time you spent in Rochester and Syracuse with lake effect snow.
Those were lovely spring days compared to Fargo.
I know, but still, that was pretty close. I mean, once you hit 30 below, how much colder does it really feel?
It doesn't do that anymore with global warming.
That's true. That's true. He both my boys are okay with a little bit of cold. It's the job opportunity. It's the trade-offs that come with deviating from the current path that he's on. Is it worth it? And just to watch him go through this process without me having to tell him anything, where I can just sit back and listen and ask him questions and just try to understand his thought process a little bit. It's kind of cool to be in that consulting stage of parenting. It's really cool. So I'm grateful for that as well. It's nice to see both of our oldest children with options that they're pondering.
Does he need the job in Fargo, or
No,
does he
no.
want the job in Fargo?
Well, we're not even sure if he wants it yet. That's kind of the analysis that he's going through. Is this something I want? He knows he doesn't need it, but he's deciding whether it's something he wants. Is this a path I want to take?
Is this a preemptive strike? Like they're catching him on the early side so that before
Yes,
all kinds of other opportunities start to come front burner?
absolutely.
Ah.
And that's part of the conversation. If we really want to get into the airlines, that window is starting to close up.
The bigger boys?
Yeah.
Okay.
That window is starting to close. So if he chooses this route, that could potentially lock him out of an easier time getting into the big airlines.
Same. What do you mean? What the window's closing?
Well, so tangent side note, the airlines go through these cycles where they go on big hiring binges and then everybody ages out at the same time. And they're on their third big cycle now, right? I mean, commercial travel became really, really big. It started blowing up in the late 60s and early 70s. So this need for hiring a bunch of pilots really happened late 60s, early 70s. A lot of those people that they hired aged out by the late 80s, mid to late 80s. They started having mandatory retirement.
At 65.
Correct. The airlines force you out. Doesn't mean you're done flying, but you're done flying for the big airlines. Then they went through another big hiring binge, filled up their airplanes, and then kind of shut down the hiring again. And then we had this little gift called COVID a couple of years ago that happened to coincide with another big aging out bubble that on top of that was met with a bunch of furloughs because the business came to a screeching
Sure.
halt.
Yeah.
So it created a lot of opportunity for people who were interested in becoming pilots to get into the airlines.
Interesting.
Well, here we are a few years later, and the need is starting to fill up. Southwest Airlines has already pushed pause on hiring new pilots. A couple of the other airlines have pushed pause as well.
Gotcha.
So luckily, Miles is on a track that more or less guarantees a few interviews with the big guys because of the program that he's in. So there's a lot of
Interesting.
there's a lot of Do I want this?
Uncertainty.
Yeah, yeah. And just watching him go through this
Might
process.
be the theme for our show today.
Oh.
A little foreshadowing.
Well, I'm grateful to watch my son go through that. It's been
terrific.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah. So we're here to talk about some stuff being back. You mentioned some of your gratitude about going down to Southern California. That before we get into what we kind of took away from that, because that's really the theme and what we want to get into and share with the tribe today. You know, what I think our clients in our private practice sometimes don't get to see is what we do behind the scenes for them, like getting on airplanes and going to school and learning about things that could potentially have impact on their financial security and their financial livelihood.
That would be backstage.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't see the production backstage.
Exactly.
You just see the show.
And it's something that we do here for our tribe at Financial Sobriety. As we go sharpen the saw, we get a little better at our craft and what we do, and especially when it comes to these three complicated relationships we always seem to come back to on this show, whether it's that relationship with self, which we've talked a little bit about, and the journey that you and I have both been through and how that's affected our relationship with people. And then, of course, this relationship with money and all the different moving parts that can touch our money. It was a lot of fun getting back to school, just sharpening the brain again. This is the first time I've been away at a conference since the whole health stuff started happening. So it was really nice to get the brain stimulated again and start learning again, going back to school, being that student. I think you and I have always prided ourselves on being eternal students.
Absolutely.
Always trying to get better at our craft.
When that stops,
we're done.
I stop.
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
The environment was world class.
Awesome.
The presenters were world class. And the speed at which the content came at us was also world class. It was fire hose.
Swallowing
ready.
fire hose?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There was a lot. I don't think we could write fast enough.
That's why I was typing.
Oh, nice. You type faster than you write?
Oh, most certainly.
Wow.
On that snazzy, slick Apple keyboard that is like just really like an extension of my hands.
Nice.
Oh, baby.
Nice.
Yeah,
Way to go.
I can gust to like 400 words a minute.
Nice. That's impressive. Well, if I need somebody
I can be a court stenographer.
I was going to say, if I need somebody to type a letter for me, I know who my man is. You're my who, not my how.
So what's back?
Well, I think we learned some important things. Not only is school back in session for you and me, but bonds are back in session.
What are those?
Uh-huh. Yeah. We haven't heard those in a while, have we? Well, I think, that's part of why we haven't heard from
Grandpa,
them in a while.
We're going to talk about bonds today?
Yeah, bonds, that's what we knew them as, was something that like my grandma and grandpa owned because they were like safe and easy and they paid interest. But I read about them in books a long time ago because we really haven't had any interest in a long time.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Interest as well as interest, right?
A little play on words here.
So I think before we get into bonds, let's set the stage with first, who are we talking to? Like who within the tribe? Because perhaps not everybody in the tribe needs to be here today, because this is a conversation that you may need, you may want, you may not. So let's just
could
get
be a
some
primer.
clarity.
Could be a primer for those. Yeah,
it could be. But so who are we talking to today? Who's this conversation going to help the most?
Well, I thought a lot about that, and I know you and I, script out some of what we're going to talk about, and the concept of the audience here today is entrepreneurs who have been pretty heavy in real estate.
Yeah.
Now, I think we owe our audience a definition on who's an entrepreneur. I don't view it as the center of the bullseye. You own a business or you started something in Silicon Valley and you sold it, or it's more of a mindset for me.
Agreed.
And you may be a professional athlete that has a mindset of an entrepreneur in the sense that you're ultimately responsible for your own well-being.
Well, and you're looking to create something, right? I can think of an athlete that you and I know pretty well who has this mindset with his team. He plays baseball, and he has this mindset about recreating a culture in the clubhouse that takes his team back into championship form. There's like this ownership mindset. This is my clubhouse. I want to have impact within the clubhouse. And he is encouraging his teammates, instead of sitting there on their iPhones, to actually look at each other in the eyes when you walk into the clubhouse, say good morning, shake hands, give hugs, and just these little things that are helping shift the culture in his team, to me, is very entrepreneurial mindset.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You may be a paramedic who is more interested in being an equity research analyst. You may be a corporate executive that really wants to create passive income.
Sure.
And you have this mindset of, this is on me. My employer provides a job and a paycheck.
Right.
But the rest of the puzzle is on me.
Yes.
We don't live in a time and a place where there's pensions anymore unless you happen to be a public servant.
Right.
Yes, there's Social Security. But to me, the entrepreneurial mindset is really the audience that we're speaking to today.
Yes.
If you own a business on top of it and you're wildly successful with it, that's the conventional classic sense.
Yes.
I think the definition of an entrepreneur needs to evolve.
Opportunistic. It's the opportunistic mindset.
Yeah, it's got a couple of dashes of capitalism and opportunism and entrepreneurialism
With
and
impact.
all those. Yeah, all that stuff.
It's people ultimately who want more from their money than just more money. A concept that we've been talking about.
Correct.
And like you teed up, I think it's great. It seems to me, or at least both of us have had this experience, that entrepreneurs have been really the last 20 years or so very real estate heavy. Because if you look at the current environment, it seems to be, based on what I can see from my seat, the number one source for passive kind of investment income, at least for the last 20 years.
Well, and it's very easy to understand why. I think it's very easy to understand why. We've been in a zero interest rate environment for 15 years.
Right.
If you're going to give me money for next to nothing,
Right.
and I can go buy a piece of real estate that can generate cash flow for me because my money market interest, my CDs, my bonds, my fixed income, all of which we're going to talk about today,
Yeah, I was just saying.
paid
Those
Zippo.
those are very unfamiliar.
Zippo,
Right.
right? Then the entrepreneurial investor was really left with only a couple of options.
Right.
One of which was real estate.
Right. The others.
And you don't have to spend a lot of time on
No.
social media or YouTube to see all kinds of big, fancy, famous names that are pounding the table on real estate, and this is the best opportunity in a generation, la, 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 la. Well, we're going to argue our case that there is another asset class that has, as my dear mother would have said, ample opportunity.
I love when you get argumentative.
Ample opportunity to make money in a very passive way.
Absolutely. I might be a little less argumentative today and just suggest I love when you get argumentative, and I want you to be argumentative. And I love when you fight for our piece. I'm of the mindset that real estate is still a wonderful opportunity.
It is.
There are other manufactured forms of income that used to compete with real estate, but because it's so simple and tangible, it's still a great option. It comes with complexities that are becoming clearer now that other options are available. If you're an entrepreneur who is seeking alternatives to the challenges in real estate, with interest rates being higher, we got more options now. There's more choice,
that's the exciting part.
Awesome. I think before we get into this, it's important to just review kind of some of those pros and cons of what we've learned as real estate investors.
I agree. I would just like to take a brief pause for station identification on a word that you said 8 seconds ago, manufactured income.
We want to go back to that?
I think we have to define that for people.
Did I just totally speed bump over that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I've always...
So we had zero interest rates for 15 years.
Right. So choices were real estate.
Stocks.
Well, but they weren't paying anything, really.
The dividends.
But you had to deal with a lot of yo-yo up and down kind of stuff.
I'm just telling you what we had on the menu.
I know.
On the menu, we had real estate, we had stocks, we had owning a business, commodities, and sure, fixed income at really, really low, unattractive interest rates.
Exactly.
Right.
The
least popular thing on the menu for 15 years.
We have to at least acknowledge, because these manufactured sources of income were really what got you and me together.
It was.
So
100%.
So to acknowledge some of them, thank you to the insurance industry for stepping in when interest rates were sucre bleu, as you might say.
Yes.
They created for us different forms of manufactured income through different annuity products, life insurance products, specifically Index Universal Life. But to have the kind of gratitude I have for these types of lifetime income vehicles, which are still incredible vehicles for the right person in the right situation for the right amount of money for a part of somebody's retirement nest egg, they're some of the best vehicles on planet Earth.
I couldn't agree more. And we could have an entire series of case studies on clients that own some of those products that have saved their financial fannies.
Is that a little bit of foreshadowing?
Maybe.
I sense there.
Maybe.
Could that be coming later
I don't know.
in the season?
I have 400 ideas an hour, so you never know.
Well, and on top of that, not just in the insurance world, but these different packaged or securitized income vehicles like equipment leases and real estate investment trusts. I mean, there were other ways to manufacture income. They just came with a certain amount of complexity that real estate's advantage was its simplicity, its tangibility, its fact that I can see the piece of property. I could see this real estate. I could touch it.
I can go there.
I can go there. I can hang out there.
I might even be able to stay there.
Exactly.
If it's an Airbnb flipper or whatever those are.
Sure. Absolutely. So, no, I appreciate you pausing and bringing us back to that. Pros and cons. I mean, you're someone who's owned some real estate before.
Yes.
What are the good parts of owning real estate?
You can go there.
Okay. You can touch it. Tangible.
You can absolutely, tangibly go to it.
Okay.
You might even be able to live in it.
That's
And
a nice bonus.
At times, there can be appreciation.
Yeah, boy, isn't that an asterisk?
There can also be times where there's depreciation.
Sure.
In terms of, I'm specifically going after the value.
Sure.
Right? I mean, our home that we bought in 2007 has gone up hundreds and thousands, and it's gone down hundreds of thousands.
Sure.
In very short periods of time.
Sure.
Like you're like, huh? It didn't. It did really in both directions.
Yep.
So it is a yo-yo, but fortunately, as you and I say in our private practice with clients, we live in it, not on it.
Correct. What about it as an investment? What would be?
Well, I mean, ideally, if you're buying it right and you're in a good location, that's the top 3 rules, as they always say in real estate, is location, location, location. Is it's going to cash flow. It's going to, after all of your expenses, ideally, it's going to provide you with an additional source of cash. And what you do with that cash, that's up to you. If you have debt on it, you could pay that down. If you want to take the cash and go buy something else, you can do that. And a lot of people that have built empires is the right word. And we have those clients in our practice where they have, just gobs and gobs and gobs of real estate. That's what they've done, is they've taken that cash and they've gone in and bought the next, either, rental property, commercial property, whatever it is. There's some other tax benefits if you own them. If you own the real estate that isn't your primary residence.
Right.
There's depreciation benefits from a tax perspective. There's the ability to be able to cash out equity as it goes up. You can take that. Again, I will leave the famous names out of it, but you don't have to. But you go type in, real estate investing on YouTube, and we'll see in a week. Some of those folks that talk very passionately about this will say, as the property appreciates, you can pull that money out with no tax consequence, zero tax consequence, and live on it. Or go buy something else.
Right. Use it to go buy something else. And let's be clear. When you say pull that money out,
you're taking on more debt.
I was going to say, you're not actually taking your own money out. You're using this beautiful concept you and I have talked about on the show before called OPM, right? You're leveraging other people's money to create more wealth for yourself. You've had to work on me as far as seeing that as a good thing, because there are other people who sit with microphones in their face in our industry who would tell you debt is the worst thing in the world.
100%.
And that you shouldn't have any debt,
100%.
which caused, I can't tell you how much shame, how much needless shame that has caused me in my life to think about debt in that way. And it's only since you've shown me the benefits of some positive ways to use debt in the form of OPM to go out and create more wealth for yourself have I seen the benefit in doing that.
Yeah.
Real estate is certainly one asset class, one way of being able to do that, which is awesome.
I think there's good debt and there's bad debt.
Yes. Now, when it comes to owning real estate, any downsides to owning real estate? And let me just asterisk, caveat, full disclosure, you and I would not consider to be real estate experts.
No, sir.
What you and I have had some experience with
Keyword.
Correct. Are clients who own gobs and gobs of real estate and have been very open with us about the pros and the cons of being real estate investors. One of the things that we've been experiencing up in the Roseville office a little lately are a handful of clients that seem to be starting to unwind their real estate holdings, A, because there are other options now, and B, because some of the downsides to owning real estate, the complexities, the costs, are starting to become not as worth it as it once was.
What I would refer to as the asterisk. Right? Is
on the home run.
It's the unknown, right? It's
the unknown.
It's the tenant issues. It's the legislation and the laws and the renter policies in the state or the county or the city that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
There's the maintenance issues. You have interest rate risk.
Right.
You have interest rate risk if you are of the mindset where you're going to cash this thing out sometime, not fully, but partially, to use that capital either to live on or to do something else.
Oh, you mean take money out of the rental property?
You run interest rate risk like where we're at right now. So if you have a loan that's resetting right now, like the $25 billion doesn't seem like enough.
It's
trillion sounds like too much. But anyway,
somewhere between the billion and trillion.
Yeah, the massive amount of commercial real estate loans that are going to be resetting in the next 2 to 24 months. That's going to be very unfortunate given where interest rates are.
Sure.
Now, could interest rates come down? You'll have to stay tuned for one of our 14 episodes on this subject based on how fast we're going today. But here you go. Here's granted, it's a generalization, but out of all of our clients, do we have more that are lightening their real estate portfolio, or do we have more that are buying commercial real estate?
That is a fabulous question. I'm going to go with option A there, Tom.
They're lightening.
They're divesting real estate holdings. They are, and surprising, they're not using some of the tax privileges, the tax code, that what's called a 1031 tax-free exchange, where based on following certain rules, which we're not going to get into today, you can sell one property and, in effect, almost like an IRA rollover, move that money into
the next one
without paying any taxes.
Right.
And we're finding clients living in this wonderfully taxable state of California opting to pay taxes today to liquidate their real estate assets and start to simplify.
Well, and I know we will eventually talk about the subject in which we intend, but we just have so many off-ramps here. Do you feel as though taxes are going to be higher in the future or lower?
Well, that's the $8 trillion question.
I think it's $34 trillion lately.
The $34 trillion question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be inflation then. That's the $34 trillion question that we've been in conversation with clients about. And the survey says, as Steve Harvey might say on the Family Feud, the survey says rates are likely going to be higher in the future than they are today. That's not my prediction.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I mean, I have my own opinion on that.
What's your opinion on that?
My opinion is rates are going to be high, taxes are going to be higher in the future because we got this big old debt ball we got to pay for.
Right.
The survey of all the clients we're talking to also believe that taxes are going to be higher in the future. Hence, why we're taking care of some of this tax bill now rather than punting it down the street.
I also think for a certain portion of clients, it's what I like to think of as ages and stages. So the age and stage of life in which they're in is a real desire to simplify.
Yes.
And there's a complexity that comes from the real estate that, hey, you got a whole team and you just get to sit in your jet and fly around and do podcasts and YouTube videos. God bless you.
Right.
I'm just jealous.
Right.
Right.
A little envy's not the worst.
But if you're boots on the ground and you're slapping paint and fixing locks and toilets yourself, maybe you got a plumber or two. But if you're still the general manager and the quarterbacking of all that, I don't know, you're 62, 68, 72, 74, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. So I get the fact that simplicity comes back into the conversation. But what I think you and I do an excellent job of is there's a planning conversation to be had.
Yes, absolutely.
And that planning conversation has to do with looking not just at the particular moment in time in which we sit, but trying with a crystal ball to anticipate a little bit. on where this thing might be going. And
Yeah.
if the thing might be going to where the bill for the party is going to come due one day, then those with assets are going to pay more. Those with income, those with assets are going to pay more in tax down the road. So perhaps they start to liquefy a little bit.
Especially if you believe that this lovely gift called the step up in basis could
What was that?
potentially go away.
The who?
Well, because there are people listening right now that are saying to themselves, because I know I've said it to myself, what's he talking about? Why would you pay taxes today when I die and pass my real estate on to my children? They're going to get a step up in the cost basis and not have to pay that capital gains tax. Why wouldn't I just do that? And I understand that argument. There is a lot of conversation about tax legislation going forward, and that being center of the bullseye on the left side of the political aisle of being something on the we must eliminate list when it comes to future tax legislation. So when you
that would upset a lot of people that are waiting specifically for that.
Well, okay. So I don't mean to get into a whole tax debate right now, but when we talk about taxes going up in the future, it's not just this straight line tax rates are going to be raised. There are other ways we get taxed and we don't just see it. This is one of the things that's out there, because if you look at already what's happened, we lost one of the most efficient financial planning tax breaks.
Oh, I thought you were going to say singers
of our
Tony Bennett.
We lost Tony Bennett and the Stretch IRA like all in one breath.
I know.
And the
Stretch IRA was, I mean, I was getting so good at stretching.
Oh, well, you were doing it every day. You were practicing. When you practice, you get really good at it. The Stretch IRA was one of the greatest tax benefits in estate planning because it allowed people who've spent a lifetime saving in a tax-qualified plan like a 401k or an IRA to pass those assets on to our non-spousal beneficiaries, a.k.a. our children.
You sound like a financial planner.
Holy cow, and I got a bug up my ass right now about this idea of the loss in step up in basis. And the only reason I think that could possibly happen is because of this loss of the Stretch IRA. No one in a million years would
have thought. Under what administration was that?
No one in a million years would have anticipated a Republican president.
Oh, come on, name the guy.
Putting legislation out there through the Secure Act.
Which one? The first one.
I think his name was, Donald. Who would have ever thought that a Republican president would eliminate one of the greatest tax benefits some of the wealthiest Americans would ever have? And I still think that was him getting after Mitt Romney, who has one of the largest IRA balances on planet Earth. But I don't want to say much more than that. That's a separate show. So
that's the black market version of financial sobriety.
You and I are sitting here trying to do
We're eventually going to talk about bonds, I hope.
A little bit of predictive. Well, we've got like 3 episodes to fill up here. You and I are trying to do our very best to be as predictive as possible, even though in reality, most of our planning work is done based on what we know to be true today. What we know to be true today is that we got a big old debt pile that eventually has to get paid, and there is only one of 2 ways of paying that debt pile: by reducing our spending, which
ain't going to happen.
We got too many what's called politicians for that to ever happen, or raise our revenue. Right, we're business owners. We understand how that works. So
cut expenses,
raising revenues,
or that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Doritos commercial 20-something years ago. Don't worry, we'll make more.
That's the beauty of having the U.S. dollar being the world's reserve currency. Is they're like Doritos. We can just make more.
We can just make more.
It's a beautiful thing. We experience some pain, right? I'm totally pushing in the clutch and shifting because we got to get to bonds. We experienced some pain in 2022 that I might suggest our tribe may have not experienced before unless they were bond investors in 1994. You and I were fledglings in finance in 1994. But boy, 2022, as painful as it was, created an opportunity here.
And I'm still pissed off about this. I'm pissed
about
off.
What?
I'm pissed off about the fact that our education on fixed income with investors is so thin that most people don't understand bonds. They don't understand the very simple inverse relationship between interest rates and bond prices.
There you go. Which you would think we should, knowing how many people have mortgages and are actually in this market already.
And so we have an entire generation of people that have never been exposed to bonds. They have no education. They don't understand them. They've never invested in them because
They haven't had a reason to.
they haven't had a reason to. And so the last time there was an earthquake in the bond market was we weren't even in the business yet, but we were dingling around in financial services. I was a bond underwriter, not in this context.
And I was a cold caller for a stockbroker.
Right.
But
And I remember having some cash and wanting to be conservative with it and getting a little burned in 1994.
yeah.
Right? So what upsets me is it is a very simple, very, I think, predictable outcome when rates have been at zero for 15 years.
Well, we've been
I will
talking
go so
about this
far-
on the show for a while.
we've been talking about it on the show, and I use this word intentionally. I have been lecturing clients that at some point you want to wake up in the morning and see that the Fed has raised interest rates because your money market's going to start to pay you something.
Yeah, your savings account might
Your
even pay
savings
us
account might
Sure.
start a bond. I mean, when I was at when I was at Smith Barney in 1874,
Right.
when it was just Smith,
Right as the union was severed.
you could buy a General Electric AAA bond that paid 7%.
Sure.
What did I just say?
Gesundheit.
General Electric.
You mean the light bulb
They're
people?
still around.
Do they make light bulbs anymore? Or are they
Not
like
anymore.
doing like technology now?
They do all kinds of crazy stuff now. But they used to be one of the bellwether companies on earth.
Blue chip.
And a AAA rated company is the highest credit rating you can have,
So that's like you and me having 800 credit.
at least.
Right. So
Is there something higher?
well, 800 to 850 is considered, I think that's the closest to like what the ratings agencies in the corporate world would call AAA credit.
Super.
Yeah.
So you could trade your money. So I could buy a General Electric bond for, I think it was a 10 or 15 year bond. I could give them $100,000 and they would pay me $7,000 every year for that 10-year period.
Sure. Well, because there's two ways. Like if General Electric wants to expand from, I don't know, let's say building light bulbs to making refrigerators. Not that could ever really happen, but let's make believe that they want to do that. There are two ways that General Electric can go out and raise the money they need to go from making these little glass light bulbs to making these big, beautiful refrigerators. They could either sell some ownership of General Electric, right? So the people who own the company could sell some of their shares, kind of like the way you did with me owning Gebhardt Group. You owned all of Gebhardt Group.
And now we make killer refrigerators.
Because you wanted to build bigger refrigerators, you sold me some of Gebhardt Group, which brought more money to the Gebhardt family, right? The other way that GE can raise money if they don't want to sell
I got to
anymore.
issue some bonds.
See, well, we did that too. You and I have done this too. We don't want to do it anymore, but corporations still do this a lot.
Right.
Is that they will borrow money
Right.
to raise funds and create refrigerators. And in the case of GE bonds, they're such a great company that who wouldn't loan them money for 10 years and sit around getting paid 7% interest a year for
Right.
the pleasure of that?
And then in 2008, that all evaporated and went away.
Poof.
Disappeared. So
Why'd that
for
disappear
15
in 2008?
Well, because of the global financial crisis and the fact that the capital markets on Earth almost disappeared.
So how did we keep that from happening?
How did we keep what from happening?
The global markets from completely shutting down and disappearing.
We took stimulus at that time, which was if we take interest rates all the way to zero, then open the floodgate doors, Hal. I mean, the money coming out of the banks, right? It was an $800 billion.
The Federal Reserve wiped out the cost of borrowing money.
Yeah,
They made
exactly.
it super cheap
Super
to borrow
easy.
money so that we could borrow money to keep our global economy afloat.
To keep it afloat, to
and
keep businesses
then,
going.
holy cow, did that feel so good to shove that needle in our arm that we kept it there for way too long.
Long time.
Way too long.
Yep. And then we had COVID. And not only did we have COVID, but then we put $6 trillion of stimulus into the economy.
Right. All this money, all
That
this
created
spending.
9% inflation.
Correct. And with that, how did we slow the inflation down? You could go back a couple of episodes, and we did a couple of great episodes on what's going on with inflation and
Yes.
the three different levers that the Fed has. Boy, I'd like to remember what episodes those were. Ace just hooked us up here. If you want to go back and get a little bit of update, if you haven't been with us long, episodes 79 and 80 were all about inflation. Part 1 being that inflation, the ultimate silent killer. Part 2, we got into how the Federal Reserve has three
Love it.
different levers to combat inflation.
Yes.
So episodes 79 and 80.
Go fact check us on that, boys and girls.
Exactly. Go
See
go
how it
have
played
some,
out.
Go have some fun.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was Righteous Jim coming out.
I know that. I love when Righteous Jim comes out.
So this whole issue that has me incensed was there was some very reasonable predictability to the fact that the Fed was going to have to start to raise rates.
Yeah.
And as we have said on the show, and we'll say it again, in October of 2021, we took clients almost exclusively out of bonds.
Sure.
Almost exclusively.
Yeah.
There were certain circumstances where we didn't. But, well, guess what? That storm has passed. The Fed is likely.
Well, what started happening in 21?
Likely.
Why did we take clients out of bonds? What was starting to happen?
The inflation was taking off, which means that the way that the Fed is going to deal with that is by raising rates,
Right.
which had been
To slow down the amount of buying and purchasing
and spending and borrowing
Exactly.
and borrowing. And
if we make it more expensive to borrow money, it'll slow things down and keep it from overheating.
took them a while.
But it worked.
It did. It's working.
It's working.
It's working after 11
Thank you for the present tense.
interest rate increases.
Yowza.
11.
Not 12.
Yeah.
Thank God.
It's like that old joke when you're playing golf. And it's like, I don't know what happened, but I made a 9 on that par 5. How'd you make the 9? I missed the putt for the 8. Right? It's just 11 times they've raised the rates.
Was I joking when I said that to you on the golf course? I meant it.
Oh, okay.
I missed
It's a good old joke.
Yeah, I love it.
So as a result of those interest rates coming up and all the lecturing we've done with clients, money market actually started to pay something.
So there are three things here I think we need to cover. Let's talk about money market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about money market. Let's talk about taxable bonds. And let's talk about tax-free bonds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened with money market? Go to money market.
Well, money market, first of all, went from 0 to 5.25%. I think we could probably say it was a little higher.
Yeah, I think we got to 535.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
nice.
we went from, I like to say, the outhouse to the penthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are very, very passionate on the belief that cash, I'm going to say this multiple times, cash is an asset class.
Well, we talked and the world finally listened.
Thank goodness.
Because there's $6 trillion in money market today.
Cash is an asset class.
Yes.
And when we would talk with clients about the fact that we're going to keep this much cash on the books in their account, we got a lot of pushback on that.
Sure.
For a very long time.
It's not working for me.
It's not making me any money. It doesn't. Well, no. It has a very particular job. Its job is to give sanctity to the portfolio with no volatility. And at this particular moment in time, Mr. and Mrs. Client, it doesn't pay you anything.
Its job is to just be there.
It's just to be there. Now, it's like the bonus.
Don't you have that friend? Don't we all have that person in our lives that when we're feeling really scared and insecure, that all they need to do is just be there for us? They don't need to say anything. They don't need to do anything. It's just their presence that makes us feel better.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
money market.
That's what money market's job is for in a portfolio. We've got some money we're going to need later. We've got some money we're going to need sooner. And we've got some money we're going to need now just to be our friend that has its arm around us to let us know that it's here and it's available. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Cash is an asset class.
Cash is an asset class. It now happens to pay something. Let's just generalize it and call it 5%.
Love it.
Right? There's $6 trillion in money market in the United States. That, I don't know if it's a record or not, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it is.
That's pretty close.
It's a big number. So the downside to the money market,
Wait, what?
or as our friends say, the money markets,
There's a downside going up to money markets?
it doesn't appreciate.
Oh, bummer.
I appreciate it very much, seeing the interest hit my account every month.
I would say it appreciates if you reinvest the 5% dividends.
Sure, but like your favorite stock, like, all the money you have in NVIDIA, it doesn't appreciate in value.
Right.
Right?
Of course not.
And one of the things our very smart friends at PIMCO down in Newport Beach,
Oh, that's where we were.
that's where we
Yeah.
were. One of the very smart people that was lecturing us said that the average investor stays in money market way too long.
Was that a lecture or was that the fire hose?
It was both.
Yeah, I did catch that part, though, when he said it's one of the biggest mistakes investors make. And because it's been, 25 plus years since we've had any substantial earning in money market, we've kind of forgotten this mistake?
Well, because and this goes back to one of my favorite charts that we will have to just visually draw.
I love when you draw on the radio.
If you draw a chart with a 45-degree angle line going
Bottom
northeast.
Okay. From LA to New York.
Yep.
Okay.
The natural tendency of all human beings is to only extrapolate that line in the same direction in which it's going.
So it's going to continue past New York to Halifax and to the North Pole
eventually. It's going to stay. It is not going to flatten. It is not going to go up faster. It is certainly, by all means, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's not going to go down.
Right. We can only see in one direction.
Now, our very smart friends who are suggesting that the Fed is at a point soon to start reducing interest rates, I don't know. What's that going to do to your money market there, Bob?
Oh, boy. If the Fed starts reducing interest rates, which will start first by affecting the rate at which banks borrow money from the Federal Reserve for one day, that will eventually trickle down to money markets and probably bring that very sexy, juicy 5% number down.
Okay.
Without any price appreciation.
Mm-hmm. So if we are in a phase of the interest rate cycle where the very smart people that study this stuff a lot more than we do have said that...
Well, they probably don't have a podcast.
Well, they should. They should be on this podcast.
Absolutely.
That there are 3 interest rate cuts anticipated in 2024, early 2025. So this concept of, you know what, I'm just going to, I like it. It's very comfortable to stay in my money market fund.
Sure.
Well, guess what? It's going to go down in terms of the interest that it's going to pay.
Right.
Unless you do something to lock in interest rates where they are right now.
Sure.
So that is a consideration in terms of looking at alternatives to money market that could take little risk and provide you with a locked-in interest rate.
Hey, Tribe. Ace here. Man, I'm enjoying preparing this episode for you. What a menu, and better yet, what incredible ingredients. And that's why I'm going to insert a break here. I want you to chew on this content for a minute before we get into the main course. Consider this the appetizer. The main course will be delivered in the next episode, and I promise you, the guys are serving up a feast. If you're not already subscribed to the program, this would be a great time to do so.
If you like what you heard, leave us a review and be sure to subscribe. And check out our website, yourfinancialsobriety.com. Thanks again for listening today. Here to help you find more clarity, confidence, and capability along your journey into financial sobriety. I'm Matthew Grishman.
And I'm Jim Gebhardt.
Be intentional with your money.
Jim Gebhardt is a registered representative of and securities offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Jim Gebhardt and Matthew Grishman are investment advisor representatives of Gebhardt Group Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, and Gebhardt Group Incorporated are not affiliated. The opinions in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or investment recommendations. To determine which investments or financial advice may be appropriate for you, consult a financial advisor prior to investing. Any reference to market performance is based on historical information, and there is no expressed or implied guarantee of future performance. Opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. The topics discussed and opinions given are not intended to address the specific needs of any listener. Gebhardt Group Incorporated does not offer legal or tax advice. Listeners are encouraged to discuss their financial needs with the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstance.
Fixed income securities are subject to increased loss of principal during periods of rising interest rates. Fixed income investments are subject to various other risks, including changes in credit quality, liquidity, prepayments, and other factors. REIT risks include changes in real estate values and property taxes, interest rates, cash flow of underlying real estate assets, supply and demand, and the management skill and creditworthiness of the issuer. There are material risks associated with investing in DST properties and real estate securities, including liquidity, tenant vacancies, general market conditions and competition, lack of operating history, interest rate risks, the risk of new supply coming to market and softening rental rates, general risks of owning, operating commercial and multifamily properties, short-term leases associated with multifamily properties, financing risks, potential adverse tax consequences, general economic risks, development risks, long hold periods, and potential loss of the entire investment principal. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Potential cash flow returns and appreciation are not guaranteed. IRC Section 1031 is a complex tax concept. Consult your legal or tax professional regarding the specifics of your particular situation. This is not a solicitation or an offer to sell any securities. DST 1031 properties are only available to accredited investors, typically having $1 million of net worth excluding their primary residence or $200,000 income individually, $300,000 jointly of the last 3 years, and accredited entities only. If you are unsure if you're an accredited investor and/or an accredited entity, please verify with your CPA and attorney. Indexed annuities are insurance contracts that, depending on the contract, may offer a guaranteed annual interest rate and some participation growth, if any, of a stock market index. Such contracts have substantial variation in terms, costs of guarantees, and features, and may cap participation or returns in significant ways. Any guarantees offered are backed by financial strength of the insurance company. Surrender charges apply if not held to the end of the term. Withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income, and if taken prior to 59.5, a 10% federal tax penalty. Investors are cautioned to carefully review an indexed annuity for its features, costs, risks, and how the variables are calculated.